Well, sweet. Well, I see there's a couple people in here. We have Joe Canfield. He's working his way to become a pro. So I think this is a great podcast to kind of understand your whole journey and figure out like the ins and outs of the PGA and becoming a pro, but also managing golf courses and going to tournaments and so on and so forth. In Jackson Creer, he's actually an assistant pro down at Cedar Ridge. So those two are on their ways to becoming PGA members and PGA pros. So
Good.
this is going to be awesome for them. And then afterwards, once we're done, I'll share this on the specific Backswing social page that you've been navigating with me.
Sure.
And we'll share it with all those golfers, and they can kind of also see the insights, and maybe they want to take Joe and Jackson's journey and try to become a pro as well. It's hard though, right?
Yeah, it's a great career, but it is hard. There's lots of steps to take, and
Of course.
sometimes I always worry that is there the opportunities, the jobs. We're not a ton of new golf courses in the area, but
Right. Well, sweet. Well, that's awesome. Well, I sent over some questions to you to kind of review, and so I'll kind of start running through those. And if you have any, like, if anybody in the chat, like Joe or Jackson, have any questions that they would love me to ask, please shoot them over. I can see them. Joe said 14 minutes late. That's only like 2 tee times, right?
Yeah, that's right. You're Valley View on a Saturday. Hey, you know what? That's good. You're not too bad.
100%. Well, kind of just to start, obviously, Dustin, introduce yourself. Tell us a bit about your background and how you really got started in golf. I read a couple interviews and articles, so I have a little bit of an understanding, but would love for you to dive in a little bit more and give us that insight.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. I'm a local kid, so Valley View here is in Layton. That's where my office is. But I grew up out in Syracuse, so just a little west of Valley View. And my dad was a PGA pro, and he ran the golf course up on Hubbard at Hill Air Force Base. So it's kind of a unique place. It's kind of like a open to the public country club.
Gotcha.
Anyway, because only certain military and federal employees get to play it. So in fact, you can probably hear the jets through the window now. They're taking off. So that's really how I got introduced to the game of golf. Was I really don't know much else. I remember at the earliest ages was 3-4 years old going up to the golf course with my dad. So when I was really super little, he was the golf course superintendent. And then in the mid 70s, he became the club manager. And in the mid 80s, he became the club professional and manager. So
nice.
He kind of progressed when he was the manager in the early 80s, 70s and 80s and had a pro working for him. And then some things changed and he decided to turn pro and then be the head pro director, golf manager, whatever the term would be. So that's basically how I got involved in golf, just growing up playing there, high school golf. I'm the third of 6 kids my parents had and probably took to golf the most.
Right.
And just loved it. Always, summertime, I remember I've told this story before, but I'd be very upset when I'd wake up and Dad had not waking me up at 6 a.m. to go with him to the course.
Right.
Many a times I made my mom drive me up from Syracuse in the mornings to get up to Hubbard and play. And, as a kid, I loved being out on the range, hitting balls, picking the range. Driving the golf carts, of course, was one of the funnest things. But
of course,
just kind of picked up, really started to play a lot and got better and better, and just loved it.
Right.
So that's basically my start to golf. Yeah.
Well, it kind of tied into like the next question where it's like the specific moment. Was that like your dad being the pro at Hubbard and like waking up in the mornings and
yeah, I think so. I remember I've told this story before too in a few different interviews. I remember I was like in the 5th grade. We had this kind of talent show or where all the kids were supposed to yell out what they wanted to be when they grew up. And I remember saying that I wanted to be a golf pro in the 5th grade. And a lot of people laughed and chuckled. I wonder if they're still laughing at that now, but I remember that. And so from as long as I really can remember, I wanted to really follow my dad's footsteps. I'll have to say he and I are probably the closest of all my siblings just because I followed in golf and he's a big outdoorsman. So we've always liked hunting and fishing.
Right. You were telling me that.
Yeah. So I just really followed in his footsteps, and that's just kind of where it really all started. And like I said, I just don't remember a whole lot of my life not involving golf with my dad, or come fall time, maybe being out chasing some birds, hunting.
Right.
That's just the life I've had.
Right.
So it's
Well,
been
that's
good.
awesome. Yeah. My
So
dad and I, we're pretty big into waterfowl as well. And so my grandpa and my grandma, she'd get us breakfast in the morning. We get up early and go down to the river. I'm from Washington. So
oh wow,
go
see,
out on the Columbia River and just sit
shoot.
there for hours.
Yeah.
And
Matter of fact, my dad was calling me last night. Hey, what time's that podcast over? We could get out in the afternoon. So we have an airboat, so we can
that's
cruise
awesome.
all over the Great Salt Lake. And he's like, "Hey, are we going today?" So he's always wanting to go. So take it
So
when I can.
no, 100%. So with him being like that early stage mentor, did that also like transfer over into when you actually started your career in golf?
Yeah, kind of
You
yes
see
and
that same mentor?
yeah, and I'll kind of explain. So yes and no. So what ended up happening, since my dad was running the golf course at the base and they're federal government, I could never work there. So they were really stringent on like nepotism, and so like
Sure.
the owner could not, or the manager couldn't have any family members underneath him working. So in high
Right.
school, or right after high school, I thought, well, I still want to be in golf, and I went and applied for a job at Davis Park,
Right.
and started right out of high school working there. Actually started on the grounds crew. So I was just getting up in the morning, cutting grass, and it just was another avenue to be able to play golf. And
Yeah.
so I did that for an entire summer. And then I went on an LDS mission
Okay.
and went on that for my 2 years, and then came home. And I really didn't have a lot of direction. What was I going to do? I kind of thought, well, golf, hopefully, I was kind of hoping that maybe I was decent enough to play college golf, but just had not really, they got my name out there a whole lot. Didn't play a lot of junior golf growing up. Junior golf when I was raised was, there was a handful of local tournaments that you played in, but it was nothing like there is now, where you can
Yeah, it's
travel all over
crazy
the
now.
state and play
Yeah.
in dozens and dozens of tournaments. What we've done with junior golf and the PGA is just amazing. There's
Yeah.
more opportunities now for kids than there ever has been.
Right.
So when I came home from my mission, I thought, well, and I ended up just bouncing into one of the pros at Davis that was an assistant pro at the time. I was like, hey, they could use you. It's fall. I came home in September, and they're like, all the high school kids have gone back. You could come back and work for us. So I went back over and talked to Ed, the superintendent. I'm like, hey, yeah, I could start. And he had me start right away. And that was the fall of 1994. So 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And I've stayed never left Davis County since.
I was
So
2 years old when you took that job.
yeah,
That's amazing.
22. So that's been my life. I just progressed, kind of, working my way up through Davis County, and then kind of going into what moved me. I got to really associate with Brad Stone, who was the pro there at Davis, and my game started to develop. I got a scholarship to play at Weber, and so that just kind of just started my path in the early 90s.
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah.
And so I just played for the first time Davis the other day, Davis County
Yeah.
in Davis Park, I should say. It was great. It was snowing a little bit,
Oh, was
but
it?
it wasn't too bad. It was awesome. I played Valley View probably 2 months ago, and then I just played Davis Park the other week, and I
Yeah.
love both those courses. They're great.
Yeah. So I think in one of your questions, later on, it's like, well, what's my favorite course? And it's like, oh, it's really hard. Probably Hubbard is where probably most of my youth grow up, and then so many wonderful experiences at Davis, and then kind of even moving to Valley View. Valley View's probably third on the list, even though I love it. It's awesome. But it's been work. You've been the boss, the director of golf, and so I didn't have those childhood awesome memories or those young youth playing in tournaments or amateurs. But they're all right up there. I could play these three courses the rest of my life and be just fine.
Yeah, 100%. I totally understand. Yeah. So now let's kind of segue into like becoming a pro, right?
Sure.
I have zero to like a little bit of knowledge of how to become a pro or what's the process. Joe, who's on this stream right now, he's giving me a little insight. Takes a while. He's in his like second or third year coming up, right? Or his first year going into his second. So what's the journey like to become a PGA pro, and like what are the challenges and setbacks that you personally had to overcome?
Sure. So kind of a little bit of back history. The PGA, so everyone that knows or would like to listen to this, always remember that there's kind of two avenues that people could follow. So there's the PGA Tour guys, the Tony Finau's and Tiger Woods, the guys that are really excelling at playing and they want to just maybe come out of college and they want to go play professionally for a living. Or there's the club pro side, which you would join, and you would join the PGA of America. In hopes, there's some club pros that aren't members of the PGA, but
yeah.
I'm a PGA guy, so we're gonna push that. So in order to do that, then you register and sign up to agree to do their schooling. Now that's really evolved. It's changed even drastically since I did it.
Yeah.
Even way back when my father did it, it was a couple of business schools. You'd fly away and go to a couple of weeks of seminar and testing, and then. And you did that a couple of times. By the time I started taking it in the early 2000s, it was called the GTTP, Golf Professional Training Program.
Yeah.
And it's all self-study, and it's pretty hard. I mean, I went to college played at Weber State, and I got a bachelor's degree at Weber. And I've told a lot of people, would you want to go back to university college or do the PGA school again? And I'd say, I'd probably go back to the university. And the only reason is because you just had deadlines and you had to go to class and you had to take the test on this day. And the PGA schooling, and it is still that way, even though it's evolved and changed and it's all online and digital now.
Right.
But you have to do your own self-motivation.
100%.
You have to say, I'm going to sit down today and knock out a section. And so that in itself was difficult. It was difficult I think it's difficult for every PGA pro.
Right.
It's just like, how do I balance work-life balance? And then, oh, by the way, I've just worked a 50-hour week at the shop or at the course. How do I find time to then do some schooling? So, and then personally, I openly shared it. I struggled in school. I mean, I grew up with dyslexia, and reading was kind of hard for me. And so I always felt like I had to do it 3, 4, 5 times to get it right.
Yeah.
So the PGA was great to work with. I had some accommodations. Basically, I just would have readers helping me in my exams and stuff. But
yeah,
so it was a little bit of a process. I think I joined, let's see, in 2001 or 2002. And I got my membership, my plaques right here, 08. So January of 08, I became a member. So
very nice.
It was a tough 5 years. I mean, for a couple other funny stories that you would do all this work experience and you can put all this stuff in a binder, okay, I taught rules, or I did a lesson, I did tournaments, and you would put all this material in a binder. Then you'd send it to Florida, they'd grade it, and then you were expected to fly to Florida and you would test on the material. Mm-hmm. And there was guys sent home all the time. You could fail. There was 7 to 9 exams. You could fail 3 in one setting and you had to retake. And if you failed any one of them twice, you were out of there.
Wow.
Well, luckily for me, I only failed one exam once. It was career enhancement, my very first level. We stayed up all night. Me and Sean Edwards, my good friend who we did the schooling together, we both failed the same exam. We stayed up all night studying. It's like, there's no way we're getting sent home because of one stupid test. And sure enough, we took it the next day and both passed by 3 or 4 questions. And from that time on, I said, I am never going to Florida. I mean, so I went like overly prepared because it was sickening. I mean, you couldn't sleep at night. Just this fear of you travel clear across the country, and if you don't pass, you're on a plane going home. And by the way, you're on your own expense to go back. So it was pretty nerve wracking, and it's different now today. We've got a couple assistants in the program just starting, and it's all now digital and online, and they take quizzes as they go through it. So just be prepared. I mean, I'm one that I'm a PGA logo guy. Do their school. Just jump through that hoop, get it over. You won't remember hardly any of it that you learn.
Right.
Anything else. but the badge is what's at the end of the day, in my opinion, is the most important, that you get to say you're a member of the PGA. And it goes a long way. It's huge credibility.
Yeah, I was having a discussion and it basically turned out, do you think that this process is difficult in such like a long, it's a long tenure, right? That it's more like trying to weed out the people that they don't feel would stay or
Clearly, yeah, clearly, yeah. When I started it, there was the demand for, and we're maybe kind of getting that way again, that there was more people than there was jobs available.
Right,
So
right.
they made it difficult.
Sure.
And it weeded those out. And then now we're kind of this new post-COVID era where golf is so much busier. Now there's this high demand again.
Yeah.
So I've been kind of following the program a little bit, and I think it's still difficult, but I think it's a little more user friendly. You're not flying to Florida for three trips,
right?
So we've always joked that maybe there should be little extra certifications next to your membership. I did it in this program. No, I did it in this program. And which one was the most skilled? So,
no, 100%. Maybe have like next to your badge, like a number, which is the miles you traveled to get that badge.
Yeah. I went to Florida 3 times. Sorry, you new associates. You only had to go to Texas once. Boo-hoo. So,
right.
That's all good.
So a question kind of, I want to like intermingle a question that Joe has asked and then a question that I have. When it comes to playing and competing as a pro, what is the mental, the physical grind, and what's it like? What's that mentality have to be like to compete and be a pro?
So, fortunately, going way back, I mean, I've been blessed with a little bit better skill than some on playing, and that's due to exposure, college golf, and hard work and practice. It's like anything else. It got to be a point though in my career where, in hindsight, yeah, you always care, but at the end of the day, I still have a job. I got a nice career. I run nice facilities, and so this pressure that I'm playing to put food on the table is not. That's not a case for me. So I go to play to have fun, to be with my friends, to compete against my best friends. And then sure, if I can win a little extra money on the side, great. Maybe I can buy me some decoys or buy my wife something nice or take her on a trip. But clearly I'm not out there trying to make a living doing it. And so that itself can change your mindset or your attitude towards playing. So at the end of the day, it's like, who cares? Nobody's going to care what you shoot. Nobody, and I said this earlier this year in an interview. It's like, at the end of the day, nobody remembers these section pro opportunities. Yeah, great. You win and get your name on a trophy forever. And it's great accomplishments, but it's not like I'm winning the Masters. You know? So I go home to a wonderful wife and family. And so that itself just takes the pressure off.
Of course.
So gear up mentally at the end of the day. I just go with an approach. I don't like to make mistakes. I don't want to make stupid mistakes when I play golf.
Sure.
And like all of us, but I try not to play with a ton of fear. And all of us can do that. And it's like, you know what? What do I have to lose?
Right.
Don't be stupid out there playing, but at the same time, don't be fearful. At the end of the day, you're going to take your shoes off, throw your clubs in your office, and go home. So it doesn't matter.
100%. And when it comes to playing, did you play, if I'm not mistaken, the senior PGA championship this year?
So I went to the senior club pro.
Okay.
It was in September up in Oregon. So yeah. So qualified on a local level here. I think we sent 5 from Utah to the senior club pro, and I went up there and didn't play. I played actually pretty good, and I hit 2 errant shots and missed the cut by 2 shots.
Dang.
So I was under par for a good part of my first round with 3 holes to go, and pulled one, and it went out of bounds and made a double, and then made another double on a hole that was like, I just kind of had a collapse. And then the same thing happened to me in round 2. I actually had it backed under par for the tournament and hit another one out of bounds. So it's like, wow.
Well, yeah. I'm sure a ton of these people that are going to be watching this are going to say, Doesn't that's great. I do a double bogey every other time, you know. 18
They're
holes,
out there.
probably double bogey 11 of them.
Yeah, they're out there. I hate them,
Yeah,
but they just come in. You know, you just got to have confidence and just at the end of the day, still though, whatever. Nobody's gonna remember.
right.
Try again next year.
True. How was and it's funny because I I sent you an email and you accepted to come on the podcast, and then I ran into you down at Black Desert on the putting green. Black Desert's an amazing course, amazing area.
Mm-hmm.
But I know you also played, didn't
Yeah.
you, in the turn? Like, what was that? What was like that feeling going up there? Because it was just open. The PGA is here. LPGA is coming to Black Desert. Like, how does that, as a Utah member, UGA pro, how does that make you feel that we know that we're elevating our game from a
Yeah.
course level?
Yeah. So, I was proud to be there. It's kind of, I had a lot of people ask me, well, did you have fun? I'm like, well, that's kind of hard. That's a relative question. I didn't, I went in there, I'd taken a couple weeks off. I hadn't played and kind of went in there not 100% confident. I'd been working on some things and then I got there in a practice round and I was like, whoa. I played it last year in our pro assistance championship, and I was
Yeah.
your tees and then all they're like, hey, yeah, they got a whole bunch of new tee boxes, and I got a cool practice round with Chris Kirk and Will Gordon and that's Yeager and we teed off, went on 10, and then we went to 11, and I hit a pretty good drive and had like 225 yards in downhill to that par 4. And I'm like, what am I doing here? So ultimately, I got a kind of a mindset. I'll be flat honest. I was fell down in my element. I was trying to be positive and upbeat, proud to be there as the section champion for Utah.
Yeah.
But the comparison is like, man, I just played really good in like a church basketball game and then get thrown in the NBA. Hey, you're going to come play tomorrow night.
That's a good analogy.
I mean, I just won the all area church tournament and guess what? Go play with the Jazz tomorrow night. So that's kind of the feeling. I mean, I really try to enjoy it. Pete, my good friend and my head pro here at Valley View, he caddied for me and we enjoyed it.
Yeah.
What we enjoyed the most was just really seeing how good those guys are, and then looking at those scores. I'll never forget. Like in round 1, and I'm kind of struggling. I'm about 5 or 6 over par. We look up at the scoreboard, and that one guy had shot 60 or 61, and Pete's like, I don't know if we could scramble 61, Dustin. How far back these guys are playing, and that really just put in perspective. Is like, okay, I'm 51 years old. I'm just going to let these guys enjoy it. Let me get out of their way and I want to finish. I didn't want to lose too many golf balls. I didn't ever quit. I played actually pretty good in my final 9. I shot under par in my final 9 holes, but it's a cool place. Beautiful, beautiful scenery. I heard that the spectators didn't love it as much. It's a little hard for people to get around.
It's a little bit hard to navigate.
Family, there was just kind of, they'll get it. 1 year in, they'll kind of figure some things out. But
I agree.
Excited that the PGA Tour is in Utah, and hopefully it's here for quite a while. So.
Yeah, with the LPGA coming, I feel like it's just adding more fuel to the fire.
Yeah,
and I think it's gonna help give more feedback to Black Desert on ways to make it more accessible, as you're saying, for these tournaments for people to navigate and enjoy it. Because in reality, St. George is such a interesting place, right? Yeah. You get, it's warm, but obviously you can go, but you have Sand Hollow, you have Black Desert, you have Coral Canyon, you have tons of different and nice courses down there, but Black Desert has kind of risen to the occasion. So
yeah, I was honored to be that guy. I wish I could have maybe played just a little bit better, but even looking back at it, I don't know. Man, it was so long. Like number 9 and number 18, I couldn't get to the fairway.
Yeah.
How far back that I had to hit to the little. I mean, there was fairway. I had to aim towards the narrow
Yeah.
hard. And number 9, I was intentionally trying to hit it in the fairway bunker left, because if I hit it right at all, I couldn't carry the rocks.
Yeah.
Like a 301, a little uphill carry. And it's like, and Pete was laughing. We were looking at my stats, and I was like second or third to last on driving distance. Only Jadon Blake was a little worse, and I don't even remember somebody else. It was like, it was still close to about like 300 yards. I'm like, that's just how good and far these guys hit it. It's like,
it's funny you say that, because the Varden Invitational, that's why we were there last week.
oh yeah,
they had the club pros and a couple other people, join. And it was between Noah and myself. Noah's another moderator or admin here at Backswing Social. And he's a 6'7". He played at Weber State. He's a lot bigger. And they're like, yeah, we're playing from the blacks today. And I was like, if you put me on the tee box and try to hit from the blacks, not even further back where you guys are hitting from, I'm not going to get it anywhere near. So I just sat at the Oasis, and people came through, and then he comes up. I was like, thank goodness I didn't get out there, or I'd be dropping my ball every single time in relief. But
yeah, it was long. It was way. I mean, that I would. Other than I was a little out of my element, probably unprepared, and the golf course was really long. I kind of joke, if I win the section championship again next year, I might just say, I get to dip somebody else to go.
Yeah,
I don't know if I'm going to hang myself out there again. I've done it once. Somebody else can do it. Or if I know I'm winning the section, I'll throw off on the last hole. So, oh shoot, dang it, I lost.
Oh, darn it, and good luck.
For the Black Desert. It's great. It's awesome for Utah, and the Black Desert folks are amazing. What the amount of money and investment that people are putting in to promote golf and promote that for the area. It's awesome.
Yeah, 100% agree. So when it comes to the golf, like obviously you've been in golf for a long time. What are the trends, and like, what are you noticing that's different in golf now? And in my opinion, like for me, it's like seeing the younger generation just come in and absolutely dominate, be so good when they get to their high school years. And I'm just like, in high school, I was just trying to play some football and baseball. But if I even picked up a club, then I see like Kihei, who was down at the tournament, and how good he is. He just signed with BYU. I saw that, but those guys, that younger generation is so good. And that's what I noticed. But on your end, from a golf,
I'm good. I'll probably. I've been around now long enough, 30 something. Well, even longer than that, playing golf, but competitively, well over 30 years. And I remember the times. Literally, I had a persimmon-headed driver in high school, and was playing a tour Balata golf ball, wound, and a ball that if you bladed it, it cut wide open. So I'm going to say the very first major observation of the game is just the technology.
Yeah, the tech,
and that is across the board. The golf ball, the golf clubs,
the putters, these lab putters that look like spaceships.
Even the equipment to manicure and take care of golf courses, the technology behind that. I think the more modern thing that's really helped, which once again, another thing back to Black Desert, why I was so out of place, is I didn't have a TrackMan. I was the only one that didn't. Even Kie had its own dang TrackMan, So I would dare say that technology like that has really catapulted. Back when I was a kid, there was the Freddie Couples and kind of the end of Jack Nicklaus' career, and watch Tiger Woods. There was like a handful of really good players.
Yeah.
And, there was like this, the top 5 or 10 guys, there's always the top 5 or 10 guys in the world. But now it's wide open. Like any one of these people can win tournaments, or one of the guys, women, whatever. They're all just so skilled. They've started at such a young age, and then the technology has continued to help them. Like going back to TrackMan. What a cool tool! It tells you your attack angle, your swing plane, your face angle. It's like, okay, wait a minute. If I know why am I hooking it? Well, okay, the face is coming in at 2 degrees close with 2 degrees path inside to out. Well, okay, make a swing adjustment to feel, okay, nope, that's how do you get that minus that 1 degree off? And that's what those guys were doing every single shot, even in practice rounds.
Right.
When I was playing with those guys, they'd set their TrackMan right behind them every shot. They knew what the carry was. So
that's crazy.
Really cool stuff. And maybe I'll probably never buy one, but maybe somebody'd have one.
Right. No, I 100% agree. I went to Scratch Golf Lab. I don't know if it's like a simulator here in Salt Lake and Utah County, and they have TrackMans as well. And I just went in there and was messing with it, and I was like, holy cow. I suck at golf. But at the same time, I'm like making those adjustments. Like you said, like you have the ability to, if you're feeling off or if you're having some type of, okay, this is what I need to change, this is what I need to do. And you can make those adjustments right there. Right. Yeah. I think it's so cool. And you're right. Technology, I'm seeing even like ads for an iPhone where you can have like a tripod, set it over the ball, and it'll just film you. And then you can just look at your phone and it'll tell you exactly what you need to do. You don't need a $4,000 TrackMan, but you can do it on your iPhone. May not be the same like tech savvy, but you're still in there like working on it. Like, man,
you can make it. Can make a difference. I personally, I've really enjoyed it. I think it's cool. I know there's been some debate around the equipment. The golf ball right now is kind of a hot topic, right?
It is.
There's a rollback coming. Yep. And a guy that grew up playing a Torbalata and a persimmon wood, I'd like to take the Will Gordons or these guys that are 6'3" and huge and they just lash at. It's like, let me put a persimmon in your hand with a Torbalata.
Right.
See how straight let's see how straight that ball goes now,
I agree. I recently went to the Freedom Golf Retreat, which is ran by like Nafe Latu and Austin Freeman. And they invited Mike Dobbins, who is a long drive professional. And that guy, and I want to see like if he had one of those balls, would it just explode or would it like actually go? Because he got on I think it's hole 12, the one that like has the cliff at Sand Hollow, right? It's just beautiful. He gets up there, swings it, and just yells at the ball, go! And he hit it over the green, 450 yards. Oh, and I'm like sitting there going, I can't even make it to the fairway, so let's go down to the next tee box. Insane. But obviously that comes with technology of the club face, the ball, like the shaft, even like in terms of like bend and stuff. So I 100% agree with you.
I think there's a valuable debate on, at what point do we kind of curve it back or say, okay, our progression stops here. Main reason is that I'm a club pro guy that has watched really the progression, even at Davis Park. You mentioned playing there. Yeah. I mean, I remember in college, there was no chance. You hit a really good drive with, in college, I played the Tour Professional. And we had metal wooded drivers then, they were titanium head, but you'd hit a really good drive at number one at Davis and you could get it down there and have about a 70, 80 yard wet shot in. It's nothing now. The guys are teeing it up and flying 3 woods onto that green.
Right.
And it's like, okay, wait a minute. I have seen that and Titleist, who I've been partners with for 30 years, even they would be like, no, we can't roll the ball back. But at the same time, I got in the business. We were 8-minute tee times. There was never a backlog at Davis. We're at 11s now. I personally think the main reason why we're 11 versus 8 is pace of play because people have to wait. The people just hit the ball farther. Every par 5, people have to wait. You wait till the green's cleared. When I grew up, you whacked it at a par 5. You never waited till the group was off the green because if it was going on, it was rolling on.
Oh, 100%.
So there's some legitimacy there because there's no more room at Davis. We can't go make tees and add 1,000 yards in Ore Valley View. So it's like, at what point do you, as technology obsoleted a bunch of golf courses? So
no, that makes a ton of sense. And putting it into that perspective, I have never really thought about that, and that's mostly because I've lived with that technology for a while. Obviously, from '92 to like 2000 something, I didn't golf, wasn't in golf, but now having gotten into golf more heavily, like I can definitely see your perspective. It makes a ton of sense from a tech standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, I think even in college, I had a persimmon wooded. Yeah, I did. I had a persimmon wooded 3-wood most of all college, and that would be like, what? It's like, I just hit it straight. It was wood and it felt cool, and I could just hit it straight. And I don't know, but it's cool. I mean, I'm not. Technology's made us a lot of money, and people come and play because they can hit the ball farther. So I'm a huge fan of that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if what it's done in the last 20 years or 25 years, it can't double that again in the next 25 years.
True.
Or I think the game becomes obsolete.
Right. I agree.
And I don't know why. I don't know if it can. Maybe
it would be. I'm trying to. I don't know if it could either. You'd have to like obviously extend your golf courses, but at the same time,
yeah. And even if
even do that.
I mean, the USGA's already got enough regulations on balls and the size of the clubs. I just don't know. I think we're at about the envelope. Hence the reason why they're talking rollback. It's like, okay, let's go backwards to like a 2010. That's what I'm hearing, like 2008, 2010 golf balls. And so
interesting.
We'll see. Yeah. We'll see what happens. Yeah.
Well, we're kind of coming towards the end of our discussion. Sure. It's been great. But
we're 15 minutes late, and I have all the time in the world. So
okay. Just want to make sure. But I was kind of, to go off of what you're saying, I was looking at like the crank driver. Have you heard of that? Like Bryson DeChambeau's driver?
No,
the face is kind of like a little jutted out to like increase distance. Technically, as a small guy and I can't hit anything, I was like, yeah, maybe I need to do this, babe. Christmas present. Look at this. But we'll see. But yeah, there's so many advancements. I'm sure at some point the ball, like you were saying, I think the ball is going to be the one where they come back on it and say, hey, come back to this.
Sadly, I think that's the case. Titleist wouldn't want to admit that because they're the biggest proponents of any rollback. But I would imagine the technology is already there. They already built it. They already have all the designs. And if it rolled back to a 10-year-old golf, I heard, here's a fascinating thing that I didn't know. Okay. So when we were at Black Desert, I was talking to our sales rep. He was there giving me some golf balls that I was going to play. And according to him, I thought he said it was a 13 different models of Pro Vs were being put in guys' lockers, going back to like 2012 and 13 model golf balls. So some guys, so has it changed that much? I mean, guys are playing balls that were 9-10-year-old model. I mean, they're still brand new. Titleist is still making them.
Yeah.
Brand new for these guys, but there was like 12 or 13 different models of Pro V1, Pro V1X's, left dash, whatever you call them.
That's interesting.
Had to distribute. It wasn't just like the regular Pro V you and I or the customers buy off the shelf.
Yeah,
they were distributing like 12 different kinds of balls.
That's wild.
So that tells you that there's some guys out there. They find a golf ball. It was 10 years ago. Now, I only want that one. They just know how it performs for them. So
yeah,
I thought that was fascinating.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, kind of coming into, like I said, the end. Like,
sure.
Looking back, is there any advice that you would give now to your younger self?
Yeah,
taking this path.
I saw that question when I kind of reviewed some of your questions, and that one I thought about a little bit. And we're in a fortunate situation where golf is really popular. I went through an era when I started; it was really busy in the '90s, and then kind of we waned a little bit in the 2000s. There's some tiger bumps and stuff people would call it, but I would dare say the advice I would try to go back and give myself is make sure I had better work-life balance. I mean, I when my kids were little, I might have missed a little too much that I should have. And so I remember one time and it wasn't that I was forced to or anything, but I think I worked like 90 days straight one summer, in between all the camps and trying to make a living and trying to play a little bit on the side, and playing in and making sure the golf course at Davis was. So maybe we didn't talk about that a whole lot, but I did turn pro at Davis.
Okay.
I was there, all the way until like 2011, and then they promoted me to head pro of Valley View in 11, and made director of golf in 2021. But so going back, when I was that early on assistant in the early 2000s, I mean, my kids were just. My youngest was 5-6 years. My oldest, my kids were born in like 2000, 2004, 2006. So, not that I don't feel like I ever sacrificed really anything or neglected anything, but yeah, times that golf and work was kind of priority over a bunch of things, especially in the busy summer months. And
Right.
now I'm trying to lead my staff. It's like we're in a different situation, and we can have some work-life balance. I don't want them living here; they don't need to be. Um, and get away from work. It's
Right.
we're November now. We all have leave build up and comp time, and it's like, look, you're on your. I told my Zach and Pete the other day. It's like, we're into the winter months. You guys schedule yourself how you want. Just make sure what you have responsible to get done gets done, and if that's from home sometimes, or I'll see you when I see you, and then we'll be back at it come March. But better work-life balance, I would dare say, would be the advice, and don't be afraid to ask for it. Those young guys that are on that listening to this, don't be afraid to ask for it from a supervisor. Let them know that, hey, I want to be a golf pro, I want to be in the career, but I don't want to be a slave to it.
Yeah.
And there was times self-inflicted. It was me. I was 100% my fault. I probably could have had more work-life balance. Brad, he never required of it. I just did it. And that would probably be it.
That's great advice. Yeah, I think in this generation, it's always, trying to find time outside of what you're doing, whether it's Instagram or whether it's TikTok, it's social media or work, but finding that time to.
Well, we've just evolved so much. And just one little last point to talk about. I started when we were a paper pencil tee sheet. And you called and said, hey, can you put Johnson down at 10 o'clock Saturday? And they were lined outside the door at Davis Park. We only did weekend tee times on Thursday. And Thursday morning, they were lined up clear around the building.
Right.
That's how it was. And it was so busy and successful. And then we went to electronic and computer softwares, and those maybe weren't as compatible as a paper pencil. And it worked and whatever, but now, post COVID, especially at Davis County courses, we moved more into a prepaid model. So now there's this higher demand again. We're not just clerks at a counter checking in and taking people's money. That's already been done. We're there to just welcome you and greet you, get you on the tee, run the starter. Now golf pros aren't just married behind the counter collecting money. That's already done. And so our responsibility is to generate play, to run our associations and our leagues, run our tournaments that our customers come play in, teach the lessons and the clinics and the camps, and promote the game.
Yeah.
And it was hard. I mean, I'll be the first to admit, there was many a times where you'd come into Davis and I'd have both phones off the hook. I'd had enough of it.
Yeah.
In the 90s, like, I'm not taking another phone call. I can't get to the phones. I'm trying to manage 2 tee boxes. I'm trying to take all their money, and afraid of messing that up. And now it's totally evolved, where prepaid models here to stay. It's like, look, you go out and buy your tee time online. I'm not taking your money at the counter anymore. We don't need to do that. That ensures that our investment is taken care of, because you the customer has purchased it and bought it.
Yeah.
No shows are gone. They literally disappeared. So our job has evolved because of something like that. And there's an opportunity to have that work-life balance and to promote the game better. And I don't think we promoted it very well from behind the counter. If anything, golf pros had a bad rap of being grumpy and ornery, because all they were was a glorified clerk, customer service guy at the counter, dealing with all the problems, complaints, and late customers and no shows. And now it's just different. It's better, way better.
So with that being said, like, we were talking about the technology from a player standpoint. Now, from a clubhouse and from a club or a club pro standpoint, you're saying it's evolved so much that it makes not only your life easier, but it makes the golfer's life easier.
Yeah. I mean, once we've pulled that Band-Aid off, and the old school people are used to it now and realize that don't call the pro shop to book a tee time. They don't want to do that. There's no need for that phone call anymore. Still, if you want to do it, great. They're going to take your credit card and charge you over the phone. That in itself you're right. I mean, I've just watched it evolve to where if golf pros and speaking to the guys that are on this podcast or anybody ever listening to it, take the technology and use it to your advantage. Get in there, dive into it, make it function for you so you can have so it can be sort of automated.
Yeah.
It's kind of be able to run itself, and then you're responsible to make sure that it continues to function right and that you're a face of the facility and that you promote the game.
Yeah. So. That's awesome. Yeah, there's a ton of new technologies coming out for the pro and for the clubhouse, and it's kind of cool to see, obviously, Utah being a tech hub and being those ones that are like the divvies and the ones that sell for billions of dollars and raise money. Like, it's cool to kind of see Utah is becoming more golf oriented, but also some tech that is coming through our channel into these courses. It's cool to see.
Well, just like this, just like your platform. I mean, this is just going to get information out, and the page is awesome. And this is let's just use it. Let's use it to spread the word and to get people excited about golf. And at the end of the day, selfishly, my goal is to fill the tee sheets. I tell people that's what my job is. My job is to make sure every tee time is full. I'm not trying to gouge anybody, or we'll be competitive on rates. If anything, Davis County courses, we're cheaper. And it's like, but my responsibility is make sure they're full and everyone shows, everyone prepays, and pace of play is great, and the golf course conditions are great. It's a win-win for everybody.
Awesome. Love that. Okay, we're going to go into that rapid fire round to close out everything. Okay, so you've already read over them, but we'll start from number 20. What's your favorite golf course?
That'll probably have to be Hubbard.
Hubbard?
Place where I grew up. Yeah.
Okay. And the most memorable round that you've played?
Oh, memorable round.
You played some memorable ones. So
it would probably, and I don't, just because you're asking, it would probably be a course record that I hold at Hubbard.
Okay.
12 under par 60 with my dad.
Oh, wow.
Probably cry a little.
No, you're good.
And then a good friend of there was my dad and I and Don Needham and Mo Goodrich. We were a foursome, and this was kind of through the 2000s and early teens there. We would play about every Friday. I'd go in and work, and then about noon or 1 o'clock, we'd go to Hubbard and play. And so I think sadly, I should have better notes of it. I should have the scorecard, but I shot 60 at Hubbard with a bogey on hole 13, and so
that's amazing.
I'll probably remember that. I mean, obviously, the old course record was 61, and it had stood for
forever,
40 years, and
wow.
So
that's
awesome. Probably the most. I mean, I've won a bunch and played in the PGA Championship, Black Desert. Those are some experiences that most will never get to experience, but
sure,
I'd say probably the course record with my dad.
100%
on the course that he literally worked for 40 years. So that in itself is a pretty cool story. It's like the
Volks will be in Hubbard lore for the rest of time. That's awesome. Yeah. That's amazing. Okay, so who would be your dream foursome to play with? I'm sure your dad's part of that foursome.
Yeah, it'd probably be my dad and Don and Mo, probably just due to the experience. But if it would probably be my dad and probably Brad Stone. And it'd probably have to be a fivesome, because then it'd probably be Zach and Pete. It's really hard to kind of kick any one of them out.
Right.
But if I had to say, probably the five most, and I have, Chris Moody and a bunch of these other pros that are my Mark Owens, and these guys are my good buddies. But if I literally probably said, it would probably be my dad and Brad. Pierre Hualdi was the original pro at Davis, and he was actually Brad's father-in-law.
Oh, wow.
He's passed away now.
Yeah.
I'd sure like to play another round of golf with him, but
right.
He'd maybe be in there. But Zach and Pete, my dad and Brad, it'd probably have to be a fivesome. So.
Right. No, that's great.
Yeah.
And then you probably saw this one. Your biggest pet peeve on the course.
Well,
if there are any.
So starting in the grounds crew, remember, my dad was a superintendent. My dad always took really good pride in Hubbard, and the greens were really good. And so, and then I kind of started a little bit into my career working on the ground. So probably one of my biggest pet peeve is just general course conditions and customers not taking care of the course,
Yes.
like not replacing a divot and not fixing a ball mark.
Yep.
And then the post-COVID era, people don't rake bunkers. They don't. They step over the rake and not even use it. So I would just say generally course etiquette from customers. It's really sometimes, and I get it. There's a lot of newbies and people just don't know.
Sure.
I've always joked. I think the sand and seed bottle was the worst thing ever invented for a golf cart because it just made everybody lazy. It's like, I'm not going to go walk up 15 steps and grab my divot and put it back. I'm going to just dump this whole thing of sand and seed. And then, in 9 weeks that might be growing. Usually the mowers picked up the sand and it all over the place, and there's just a divot there. If anybody's listening, just go pick up your divot, put it back, sprinkle a little bit of the sand and seed around. That's the ideal. Hot press, fix your divot.
I love it. And then one golf rule that you feel should be changed. I've heard a couple people talk about, and this is, I don't know if you've ever heard of the Salty Golf guys. They go around here all the time. But one of them said, instead of hitting when you're on the tee box and you hit it out of bounds, not going to get your ball and then dropping it, but just re-hitting and counting as your second stroke. I don't know how that would work, but what would be yours?
So right now, so let me understand that one from processing. So there is the new rule where if it's a local rule, you can go and you add 2. I see what you're saying. They would say you hit 1, it's out of bounds. Great. Just tee up. You're hitting 2, not actually hitting 3.
Yep.
Basically eliminating the 1-shot penalty for hitting out of bounds.
Yeah. You're going
sounds like for a guy that hit 2 out of bounds, it's in your
that would work for you.
And I missed the shot and missed the cut by 2 shots. I kind of like that.
You like that one?
I can actually see some value. It's like, I hit it, and why take it? Why add a penalty when you're having the distance?
Yep.
When you're having that, I don't like that one's okay. One that kind of, and it just affected me the other day, and I get it, and it's just, but we were playing at Sunbrook in pro assistance, and my team was struggling, all my teams, and we were on the Woodbridge hole.
Yes.
Sunbrook, and so everyone knows it's a really difficult hole. And I just laced this 4-iron perfect down in the fairway. All my other team members are in the rocks right, and so they're having to drop. I'm like, okay, if I just need to make a par. So everybody's and I go down there, and on the whole side of my golf ball is completely covered in mud.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
And it's like, I get to hit the back of the ball, but I'm like, I don't even know if this will go over the water. And sure enough, I've got a 7-iron. I'm like, I hit it, and it dang near goes out of bounds right. It bounces off the guy's retaining walls, and I make a hell of a par. I was so lucky. But that one, it'd be like, I'm not saying that the ball should be lifted, clean, and placed all the time, but
there's got to be.
I dang near make a double bogey, and in fact, and I hit the perfect shot in the fairway.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be, and I know that Jack Nicklaus used to always argue that a divot in the fairway, you should be able to take relief. If you hit a perfect shot in the fairway, you shouldn't be penalized with the ball. So I'm kind of in that line. I don't know how they'd ever be able to do it, but if you're in the middle of the fairway, you should be able to hit from a good lie. Yeah,
I agree. You put the effort, you get it to exactly where you want it, but there's
something outside of your influence. That'd be the golf course too wet, or somebody not replacing their divot now affects your opportunity to make the next shot.
Yeah, I agree with that.
They'd argue, well, it's just the rub of the green. It's like, is it though, or is that just bad luck? It's kind of bad luck.
Let's fight for it, Dustin, you and me. Let's go. Yeah. I agree with that 100%.
And I'm not saying that the ball should be bumped and cleaned, but I clearly think if it's in a hole or a divot or literally covered in mud and it's in the fairway, there should be some allowances.
Allowance or relief. I agree.
I don't know. That's fine.
I like that one. That's a great one.
It'll never happen. We'll just sit here and talk about that it should. And I'll hit another mud ball sometime. So
amen. Okay, the last question I have for you is, what's next in your career? What do you have any big plans or any big projects, whether that's for Valley View or Davis Park or just you in general? Like, what's
Yeah,
next?
not a whole lot on the horizon. We finished that big range project at Davis
I
Park.
saw it. It was nice. It looked
We
great.
finally got that open, and we're still ironing out some access to it, but
Yeah.
that was a big deal, and kind of get that over. Maybe there's a few little things on the horizon here at Valley View, maybe a slight range renovation here too, just
Nice.
maybe remodeling the tee. But
Yeah.
personal life, I'm 51. I've been with the county over 30 years, over 25 years full time. So
Yeah.
the retirement is closer than
Right on the
not.
horizon. There we go.
On the horizon. So, I'm still, a handful of years away, but
Sure.
I mean, my dad retired at like 58, 59. So 6, 7 years and I'm right there. And it's like,
Yeah.
finances are in order, which, I don't know. I don't want to work forever,
Yeah.
even though I have a great job and a great career, but
Yeah.
I don't, I like to hunt and fish, and
Yeah.
not to mention, you know what, somebody else can do my job. Give somebody else the opportunity to be the director of golf at Davis County, and
Yeah.
my turn will come to an end, and somebody else can do it, and
Right.
pass it on to one of these guys that's behind me.
Yeah.
So,
That's awesome. That's good to hear.
yeah.
It's not very often that you have someone that has a good position and is like, you know what? I think the person behind me or whoever's next is going to take over. They like to hang on to it as long as possible. But
Yeah,
yeah,
that won't be me. I could maybe stretch to 60, 62 would be a huge stretch. So 10,
yeah,
10 more years, but
that's
I
funny.
don't know.
That's
Somewhere in that ballpark, it's going to come to an end. I want to go shoot ducks too much and go
yeah.
fishing.
I feel that. I feel that. Seeing my grandpa now, he doesn't go out and shoot, but he goes out with my uncle and my cousin. I'd
So
say as much as possible. So he gets in the boat, goes out there, and just loves it.
just loves being
Doesn't
there. Yeah,
doesn't participate, but he loves it. But well,
good time.
Dustin, I really do appreciate you coming on the Backswing Blueprint. We're gonna try and get some more, PGA pros or just pros in general at golf courses. We have Kevin Connell, who's down here in American Fork next week, and Joe
Cool.
Barton at Dynaland joining next week as well.
Joe,
So
good one.
we have some great ones coming up, and obviously you're headlining the story and the build out of this podcast. So I appreciate you taking time to and trusting to come on this and kind of start the podcast legacy, the
Good.
Batman podcast legacy.
Love
So
it. Well,
really do appreciate
congratulations
it.
for you, and good job.
Yeah. If you have any questions or if you have anything that you want to or need help with anything, feel free to reach out, and we're
Okay.
we're excited to see what you're going to be doing the next couple of years. And I'll be golfing Davis Park and Valley
Do
View
it.
often. So if I see
Give me
you,
a call. Shoot me an email. We can get you out.
sounds good. Appreciate it, Dustin.
And hey, you have a good holiday season
Hey,
coming
you
up.
too.
Enjoy the winter. Okay.
Appreciate it. Talk soon.
You
Bye.
bet. Bye bye.